Okay, let's get real with the solution. I'm going to start with DynamoDB. We are keeping track of the shopping cart in a shopping cart table. The table is partitioned by tenant ID, and we also have a sort key of user ID so that we can manage shopping carts per user. I have some sample data in the table for the demonstration. So we have John Doe, who is part of the food tenant, and Jane Doe, who is shopping on the bar tenant. And the goal for us today is to make sure that when a user access comes in for the food tenant, they can only access data for the food tenant. And similarly, any access request for the bar tenant can only access data for the bar tenant. To accomplish this, we are going to create two IAM roles, one for foo and one for bar. So let's take a look at these roles real quick. So if I go to the foo role and look at the IAM policy, we are granting read access to the shopping cart table and adding a conditional constraint that says this role can only access the data where the leading key is foo. Similarly, when we look at the bar role, we are going to restrict access to the bar tenant using that leading key. To demonstrate this, I'm going to use Cloud Shell. The first thing I'm going to do is basically get my credentials for the foo tenant. So what I'm doing here is creating a new session for using that role shopping cart foo. And now if you look at my current credentials, this session is specifically using the foo role. Now, when I access my DynamoDB table by running a query, and this query is basically saying, give me all the data for tenant foo. And I'm using the DynamoDB query. Please note that I'm not using the DynamoDB scan because the scan does not care about the conditional constraint. It's going to scan the entire table and provide you all the results in any case. So you should use the query constraint. And now you can see that I can access only the data for foo. Now let's say, for example, I try to access the data for tenant bar. Now this should fail because my IAM role does not have access for the leading key bar. So as you can see, this is returned back an access denied exception. Now to continue on the demo, now I'm going to log in or create a new session for bar session or using the role bar. And now when I access the data for bar, I should be able to see the data for Jane Doe and access the shopping cart pretty seamlessly. However, now when I run the same query for foo, it's going to fail with an access denied exception. Okay, so that's it for the demo. So now we have created the DynamoDB table and we have created two IAM roles, one restricting access to the tenant foo and another one restricting access to bar. And we have seen that it works sufficiently to solve for the challenge of data isolation. I'll see you in the next blog.